Are you thinking about buying a home, or are you a real estate agent who assists first-time home buyers? Then you won't want to miss our topic today. Here are 4 things to know prior to buying a home. What's up, Nick? How you doing?
I'm doing great, Joe. How are you?
Good. So we have a great topic for your keeping your business on track today. We're talking about the 4 things you should know prior to buying a home.
Yeah, for sure. Again, if you're a first-time home buyer, you're going to have a lot of questions. And that's completely normal. And hopefully this will give you, a starting point on where you should begin your journey.
Yeah. And one thing I didn't mention, if you're not a subscriber, and go ahead and hit the subscribe button now, like, share, get those things out of the way. Share it with people you might find interest in these types of things. But with no further ado, let's just get into it, man.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
First-time home buyers are always a big part of the market. And,
For sure.
And buying a home is one of the biggest purchases most people will make in their lifetime. And so obviously there's a little hesitation or fear or, just not knowing what to do in those situations. So how can we help our first-time home buyers today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first step, first and foremost, that a lot of people have, their question is, how do I know if I'm financially ready? You know what I mean? Like, where do I have to be at to be financially ready to make this, like you said, possibly the biggest purchase of my life?
Well, it's funny because most people don't think they're financially ready to buy a home.
Right.
And a lot of those people might not be ready, but a good portion could be. I was told if you stretch in one place, stretch on the house payment and then, eliminate other expenses because it's an asset typically that grows in value versus a car that actually goes down in value unless you bought some kind of crazy collector's car. Typically, homes appreciate in value, whereas most other things depreciate. If you buy an iPhone, I love my iPhone, but my iPhone 2, or my iPhone 3G I bought in 2008 isn't worth what I paid for it in 2008, right?
Right.
And so, my car goes down in value every day I have it and drive it, it goes down in value. But my house over time typically appreciates. So, it's almost like if you do have more of a house payment, obviously we'll talk about fitting into a payment, but it is one area where you actually might see a return on that investment.
Right. Yeah. Like you said, it's a little bit opposite of any other purchase that you make.
Yeah. Most purchases,
they're going to decrease, but this one, you might want to stretch just a little bit because you're hoping for that appreciation.
Right. Appreciation. And every month you pay down your principal and you build equity. So obviously, I'm not going to go into too much depth about all the advantages of home ownership. If you're watching this, you probably believe that buying a home is right for you. Now you're saying, well, am I financially ready, to go back to your question? Well, the things that lenders look at is they look at, well, I don't want to get, again, too deep in the 4 C's of mortgage lending, credit, capacity, collateral, and character. But really is, do you have a decent credit score? Have you been paying your bills on time? Is your credit score what you might consider decent? Even if it's not decent, do you have the ability to help bring up your credit score? So credit's one thing that will be looked at. Now, if you have less than perfect credit, there are loans out there for you. So don't be discouraged if you have less than perfect credit. The other thing is after credit, it's the thing that people worry about the most is their down payment, right? And there's lots of low to no down payment options. There's different types of loans that will accommodate people with lower down payments. So, do you have some money saved up or the ability to get help on the down payment? We're going to do another podcast regarding, low down payment loans and, different ways to get creative on the down payment. But just to know that you either have some money or access to some money, and it doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be 20%.
Right.
And the big thing after, your credit score, your cash to close, your down payment money is your income. Do you have a stable, steady job, that you might have for 2 years, or you recently out of college and got a job in your career? So we look at the income, and can the income pay for the debts?
Yeah.
So really financially ready, do you have okay credit, decent credit, or do you know your credit might be less than perfect, but you want to work on it? That's a good start. Do you have some kind of down payment ready? It might not be 20%, but it doesn't have to be right now. And then is your income stable, or have you looked at your income? Do you have at the end of the month after you pay all your bills, is there money left over? And that's a good sign that you might be financially ready for this.
Yeah, totally agree. Those are the big 3. for kind of getting an idea of if you're ready and
Right.
if you're comfortable. Yeah. But yeah, moving on to the other one is number 2 is getting pre-approved. Like people talk about this, or I hear about this, but is it really that important? And if it is that important, why is it important?
So pre-approval, a lot of things happen at pre-approval. So if you find the right lender, I think finding the right lender is a good start. And you can, like I've said before, you can go to, I can go on Google and find what ails me. And I go to my doctor and I say, hey, doc, I've done all the research. This is what I have. Obviously any doctor is going to be like, thank you for your amateur diagnostics, but let's take a look. Let me ask you some questions. Let me take some readings, some measurements, some blood work maybe. Let me, get a throat culture. Who knows? But they're going to do their own research to figure out what is going on with you and what's right for you. And then they'll give you some, hey, based on my analysis, this is what we're going to try. Well, if you just went in and said, doctor, I want penicillin, I think I have this. And the doctor just gives you that penicillin and didn't do their due diligence, that's a problem, right? And we have a lot of people that have done this once or twice before that think that they know exactly what they need. But a good mortgage lender is going to help you ask the right questions, give you the right information so you can make the right decision for yourself. So one thing I would say is getting pre-approved. In a pre-approval, you should figure out the cost, all the costs involved, what your payment's going to be. You're going to figure out the process for the loan and all these things. And that's one of the advantages of a good pre-approval is it's going to give you the information you need to make the right decisions. If you go in and say, I want to be approved for this much and, and this is the rent rate I'm looking for, you're going to miss out on all the professional advice a good loan officer can give you to help you make a right decision. Yeah. So that should be discovered in the pre-approval process. But also in that pre-approval process, you're going to get pre-approved. Yeah. And if you find the house of your dreams and you're not pre-approved, it's going to be tough for a seller to take you seriously on your offer. And they're probably going to say, well, this offer is pre-approved and this one's not. Who's going to win that deal? Or if you are pre-approved by a reputable local lender that the list agent knows, your chance of success just goes up, right? And the level of pre-approval will also dictate that. Yeah. So if a lender just goes to you and says, hey, how much do you make? How much do you have in the bank? What's your credit score? And says, okay, you're pre-approved. Red flag. Right. Because they didn't do the due diligence, they didn't do the work to figure out, collect the documentation. And while you're good, there might be something that holds you up if you don't do that up front. And most of the real estate community knows which lenders do what. And so if they're not underwriting the loan, they're not really pre-approving you, that letter is not going to hold any weight. Yeah. So it's not just that you're pre-approved. You should look to get all this other information out of your pre-approval. Yep. How much is this going to cost me? What's my payment range? What are the interest rates within a range, currently? Even though interest rates change on a daily and sometimes hourly basis, it's still good to know where they are, a range, and what your payments would look like if it changes. And so these are the things that I would urge people to do prior to shopping. Is get pre-approved. Know your range. Know how much your payment's going to be so there's no surprises out there. Yeah. And I don't know. It might seem like a hassle, but it's also like just a massive, massive benefit for everything that you touched on, both for the informational side and learning what you're getting into. And when you do find the home, like the strength of your offer just makes a big difference. Makes that much stronger. Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So the third one, also a big one that people are probably concerned about is they're like, oh, I have to get a real estate agent, but like, how do I do that? And what do I look for, in an agent? Well, it's funny. People typically find their agent before they find us, yes. Right? Because let's admit it. Let's just put the grill, 800-pound grill in the room and just put it out there. It's way more interesting to look at homes than it is to get pre-approved for a mortgage. For sure. So it's way more interesting, but logistically, how are you going to go shopping if you don't have an understanding of not only what you think you can afford, but what the lender will approve you for and the range, and to know what your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance payment would look like. And a local lender knows that better than any other person out there, better than a lender out of Detroit or, North Carolina or California. A lender in your area is going to know better what the taxes are, what the insurance looks like there. And anyone can put together a principal and interest payment. but it's important to know the nuances. So as far as shopping for an agent, yeah, they usually look for the agent first, then the lender. I would urge people to do it the other way around. But if they do find the agent first, I understand it's way more interesting to look at houses than get pre-approved for a mortgage. But in an agent, you want to look for someone who is an expert in their area. And there's a lot of great agents out there, and a good agent can make the difference, just like a good loan officer. It does matter who you work with. A good agent can help the right borrower find the home of their dreams. And look, sometimes there's personality meshes, but sometimes there's a lot of value that these agents give you because they know the local area. They've been in all the houses, they've researched the listings, they've toured them, and they know a lot about these houses, and can give you a lot of information that you might not have thought of yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So you want to go out and do some research, look at their Google reviews, look at their reviews in other peer places, ask your friends and family and neighbors, ask a good mortgage company. I'm pointing at us because, we work with a lot of great agents, and we can help borrowers find one that fits their needs, their goals, their personalities. But again, it's good to ask around to see, who have your friends and family used that you trust. Find out if they liked them, what kind of value they added to them. Because at the end of the day, you're paying for that service and you want to get a lot of value out of it. And there's a lot of value a good agent can give to you in the transaction.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the fourth and final one that comes up is, I don't know anything about the process, do I need to know everything, or what should I know about the process before going in as like a, intro?
Yeah. So a lot of people, there's a lot of, if you research, first time home buyer, the first thing they talk to you about is the process, and they get you all wrapped up in, well, you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this. Here's what's important to know prior to shopping. Number one, make sure you're in your mind, even if you're close or think, or there's a question if you're ready or not, if you're asking the question, it's probably good to go to the next step, which is talk to a loan officer. And if you can't get approved right now, a good loan officer is going to tell you all the things you need to do to get approved. And then once you get approved or pre-approved for that mortgage, then shop for an agent. I wouldn't do it the other way around because you're going to get your hopes set, and a good agent's going to refer you back to get pre-approved anyway. So, if you do go to the agent first, I certainly understand, and hopefully they'll point you in the right direction of a good loan officer to get approved. But then the next step after that, after finding the agent, is really going to be led by the agent and by the lender, and they'll tell you where you need to be at all times. A good agent and a good lender. But after that, it's searching for a home. You have a price range in mind. You search for the home of your dreams. You find the home. You put in off, if you do your, is this the right home for me? Does everything look good? And then you go under contract. You write a contract with your agent. You go under contract, and then there's a specific time to get inspections done, and you want to do the inspections because that's going to tell you what's right and wrong with the property and what you're getting into. Because a home can be a great financial asset, or it can be a financial burden depending on the situation. And those inspections help you mitigate some of the risk. And then you have time for a loan approval. And then towards the end, within a certain time frame, you get your final figures. And then the day before closing, you wire your final figures in, your final numbers, your final closing costs that unfortunately can't 100% be determined until the very end, but lenders have a very, very good idea up front, and a lot of things cannot change by law. And then, you close on your property, you get to go and paint and do all those things, and then take care of your home and hopefully enjoy the appreciation for a long time to come. So, but once you get to that pre-approval and you have an agent picked out, really, the agent and the lender are going to make sure that you have a great experience along the way and kind of guide you through that. If they're not, that might not have been the agent and the lender for you. But you can tell that up front. You can ask some qualifying questions like, hey, tell me your process from here. What does it look like working with you? How can I benefit, or what's the value you bring to this, to my situation?
Yeah, you touched on it there. I think a great loan officer or agent, whatever you're getting first, should explain kind of like the process step by step. And if you take that initial step to reach out to someone, hopefully, you won't be confused, and they will clarify these things along the way, and they'll kind of be like a guide, like you said,
right,
for the whole process.
Yep. So that's it in a nutshell. These 4 things right here, they're very important. So number 1, just make sure that you feel like you're financially ready, even if you might think you're not. But there's a question there. Go to step 2, work to get pre-approved. A good lender is either going to get you pre-approved or tell you what you need to do. And a good lender is going to tell you all the facets involved. At least we do here at Morgan Financial. We're going to tell you what your costs are going to be, what your payment looks like, time frames, process, all these things. That happens up front. And if you don't like what the lender's telling you, call us. If it's one of our people, call me. I'll fix it real quick. But the next step, is finding that agent. And if you reverse those, it is what it is. But the right agent, ask around, ask your friends and family, look at online reviews, look at the Google, the Zillow reviews, and make sure you get an understanding and talk to the agent, interview them, ask them a few questions, make sure they're right for you. And then after that, honestly, the lender and the realtor are going to guide you through that. Hopefully you ask the right questions up front and feel comfortable with these people, and they're going to guide you through the process all the way to the end. They have a vested interest because that's how they get paid, is when you close on your transaction. Typically, that's how a lender, and typically that's how a realtor is going to get paid. So they have a vested interest in helping you find the right place. A good lender is going to make sure you find the right place and you're happy with, because when you close, you're going to be happy and refer them to your friends and family. Yeah. So thanks for joining us today. I hope you got some value out of this. Please like, share, comment, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Talk to you soon.